Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Ware Brothers Podcast. We're here on April 24th, 2022. Took a week off, took a little Easter break. Hope everyone had a good holiday if you celebrate Easter or any other holidays during that time. But we're back again for another exciting episode. So, Taylor, what's up, bro, amigo?
I know we had 2 weeks to figure this out, and I couldn't come up with shit. I'm doing awesome, bro. Donka
We need new ones. We need every week. We need new ones.
Good luck with that.
So to be fair, before we talked about making a podcast for a handful of months,
probably 6 months, 6 to 9 months beforehand. Yeah,
and I don't know what do you say. We usually talk at night. Like I usually call we call each other after work. Probably 2-3 times a week.
Yeah, 2 to 3 times.
And for like those 6 months when we talked about our podcast, I feel like we had so many broisms. Like, I mean, like we came up with so many good ones that we kept being like, oh, we need to write these down. And like every episode we can do new ones. And I can't remember any of the ones we never wrote down.
Yeah, I know. Romigo, Bro Donkadonk, Brolofsky.
Brolofsky. But
yeah.
So email us with some broisms that you want to hear at the Ware Brothers Podcast at gmail.com.
They're like, hey, bro moron.
Bro moron?
Yeah. They're mad that we haven't come up with new names. So then it's called
fair.
Bro moron. I know, right? Yeah, fair. So no, I'm good. You had a good Easter, right? Yes.
I did. So get
Nice.
this. So I had Easter at a Chinese restaurant.
Awesome.
It actually was. It was awesome. It was really cool. The restaurant, because of COVID, they haven't they don't do any dining inside. They've only just done takeout and delivery.
Mhm.
And so my mother-in-law's boyfriend knows the owners really well, and he asked them so my mother-in-law wouldn't have to cook for Easter, and said, hey, would you mind opening up the dining room, and if we ate there? And he was like, oh yeah, no problem, come on in. So we had Easter at the Chinese restaurant, and it was friggin' awesome. Yeah,
You can almost never go wrong with Chinese food.
no, not
Ever.
at all.
I mean, sometimes after you have the Chinese food, a lot of things go wrong.
Yeah, it goes very wrong. Yeah.
But the idea of having Chinese food is always a great idea.
Hey, I had my teriyaki steak, I had my crab rangoons. I was happy, man. It was good. How about you? Did you have a good Easter?
I did. Went over, saw some family, and did an Easter egg hunt with my son. He had a blast. They hid 65 eggs for the kids' Easter egg hunt. He found 40 of them.
Oh my God. It's totally your son.
Yeah. We were very gracious. After we collected them all, I let him keep 10 of the eggs and the candy out of them. But no, so he didn't. If he had candy out of all 40 of those, he would probably still be bouncing off the walls.
Yeah.
Finding random eggs in people's yards.
Absolutely.
Like three days after Easter, he's like running around. I found another egg in some person's yard. Put that back. Yeah. I'm like, that's a real egg. That's that they have chickens on their property. There's no candy in there.
No, just protein.
Just protein. Yeah, so no, it was good. We had a good time, and yeah, this weekend was good. I got the motorcycle out of storage, took it out on some maiden voyage yesterday and earlier today.
Nice.
God, I missed that so much. Oh my goodness. Yeah, great.
Are you happy still? I mean, I know you're happy, but like, because I know, like, for those who don't know, Taylor has always had crotch rockets, and this is his first cruiser.
I do. It's way more comfortable. I love the sound of this cruiser. It's for those who don't know, it's a Yamaha Raider. It's a big old 1800cc bike, and it sounds great, rides great. I am still very much a speed junkie though, and there are definitely days where I'll find myself on Facebook Marketplace looking at Ducatis and BMW crotch rockets. I'm like, oh, that's nice too. So, but so when I picked it up out of storage at our dad's house, I like come up on the highway. I hadn't obviously run it in months, and I'm like, all right, just gonna take it easy. Just nice casual stroll up onto the highway. And as I'm coming up the on-ramp, I see a car coming up, and I'm like, all right, here we go. And next thing you know, I'm doing 90 miles an hour, and I'm like,
sure.
Oh yeah, nice and easy, nice and easy trip. So Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, you be careful out there. I know you've been riding for a long time. I trust you, but hey, little brother has big worries for big bro.
Yeah.
When he's out riding his bike.
I know. I keep trying to talk somebody into getting one to join me.
Yeah, that's not me. You need to convince.
There'll be a fruit basket headed to your wife tomorrow. Be like, enjoy some fruit. Here's a nice kiwi, some strawberries. Oh, can Ken get a motorcycle?
Yeah, keep working on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing I meant to tell you that something you got your bike. I and M couch. It came in.
I was gonna make a comment asking how it was riding the couch like I ride my motorcycle, but
Yeah, it doesn't
I
move very
digress.
fast.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, which was we were told it was gonna be like 6 months before it came in, but
I know you. I was surprised when I found out like a few weeks ago it was coming in.
us too.
Does it make cool motorcycle noises? Go like vroom vroom. Ken just sits there and he's like, vroom, vroom, vroom.
No, it's cool. It's good.
Okay,
So
it's good. It's good.
So we got it to fit. So yeah. So
Nice.
So yeah. So it's exciting. That's what's been going on the last couple weeks. So
Cool. Well,
let's get into the news.
Let's say we have a fair bit of news to jump into this week. Would you like me to kick things off?
Taylor, why don't you go ahead and kick things off?
I guess so. Got nothing else better to do. I'm just kidding. So a little bit of news for the broski, because I know what a big Kingdom Hearts fan he is. This is now, since we didn't record last week, this new segment covers things over the past 2 weeks. So this is kind of old news by the time it gets to you, but Kingdom Hearts 4, as I'm sure a lot of people saw the trailer for, I'm pretty sure I posted it on our Instagram page, but they're saying that Kingdom Hearts 4 could look even better upon release. And there was also a possible of Star Wars inclusion in the trailer that some Eagle Eye fan picked up. And it says there appears to be the foot of an AT-ST walker in the trailer.
So people have been wanting, especially with Disney's acquisition of Star Wars, people have been wanting a Star Wars world in Kingdom Hearts for a very long time. So I know that this would be really exciting for fans. I personally, I mean, I like Star Wars, but I'm not a super big Star Wars fanboy. Certainly a lightsaber keyblade would be awesome. I'll take that. Yeah, I'll take that any day of the week. So that's really cool. I did watch like a little video of, of the foot. It's like it's just amazing what people they see like a little pixel and they're like, oh my god, that's an AT-ST. What? Like, how can you tell like that? How can? But you got just such a little piece. But I mean, hey, the way the video showed it, I was like, yeah, I guess that really looks like that's what it is.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I do enjoy Star Wars. I've seen all the movies, the original 3, then the prequel 3, and then the new 3. I enjoy Star Wars. But yeah, I'm not like some, crazy psychotic Star Wars nut. But yeah, I get it. Disney owning them, it'd be kind of cool to bring them into the fold. Like you said, a lightsaber keyblade would be pretty dope.
Yeah, and the fact that and what they saying that with them saying it could look even better upon release. I mean, I don't know. For those of you who saw the trailer, I know you did, and I did. I thought the game looked friggin' amazing. So looking even better. Okay, I mean, it looked pretty good to me. I don't know about you, but
well, I guess only time will tell.
You didn't think it looked good?
Oh, I thought it looked great.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
I'm saying time will tell if it, I guess, looks even better than what we saw in the trailer. So,
sure.
So moving on from there, so Nintendo announced last week that they have purchased a 10,000 square meter plot of land next to their existing headquarters in Kyoto. They're building a new development center, and it should be completed in 2027. So that should be exciting as well. Just to see what they have on the horizon. The fact that they're investing this kind of money just, I think, goes to show you how obviously invested they are into these upcoming generation console as well as games that are going to be on the horizon. So it should be pretty cool.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder I know development center, but I wonder what that really entails.
Yeah, I don't know. They're going to probably have some, well, let's see. They do the whole motion. They've always been at the forefront, I feel like, of like the controllers and how we interact with games. Seeing what we saw with, virtual reality and 3D scopic inclusion on the 3DS, and then having like the Wii remotes and motion control. I mean, there's gonna have some like mind control, augmented reality type stuff coming down the pike, I'm sure.
Mind control, yeah.
They're like, buy Mario, but you're like, I think I should get some Mario. They're like, we got a winner. Perfect.
Yeah, we've already been programmed for 20 plus years to buy Mario.
So also some Final Fantasy news, kind of sorta. There was a clothing line that accidentally released on a line of clothing was released online accidentally and then quickly taken down. It's going to be a series of t-shirts featuring 16 unique shirts, one for each mainline game.
So this is news to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, get it? Because it's new.
It's
anyway,
the news of the week.
But that's kind of cool. Have you seen any pictures?
Nope, did not.
No. So I'll have to check this out. I don't know. Would you, cool. if it just seems like a nice little piece to,
if I'd probably rock something from like Final Fantasy 6 or 7.
But yeah, I'm sure a lot of people, right, would definitely buy from 7, but it'd be really cool just to see what they look like. I wonder curious what the designs are.
Yeah. Like I said, so supposedly each shirt there's going to be 16 total designs, one focusing on each, of the mainline games.
Right.
Yeah. So
very cool.
More Elden Ring news.
It's going to be here every week, folks.
So if there's a week where we don't have Elden Ring news, I'll just be like, big news this week. There's no Elden Ring news. Yet another speed run was broken. Sub 7 minutes. 6 minutes 59 seconds by Distortion 2. That's insane.
So I finally have watched one of these speed runs. The speedrunning community is insane. Yeah. I mean, I don't even know what to say. It is insane. I mean, literally, I swear we're gonna come one week and it's gonna be like another Elden Run speed run record broken. -2 minutes. They did it.
He went back. He invented a time machine and went back in time to beat the game. Amazing. Yeah, it's. I've never. I mean, I understand the whole speed running phenomenon, I guess, if you call it a phenomenon. But it's just nothing.
Phenomenon.
I'm just happy to beat a game. I did it. It took me. I started this game 20 years ago. I just beat it. What's my record time? Am I in the ballpark?
Yeah, there. You're close.
Yeah, I'm there. Yeah, it's in the ballpark. Breath of the Wild 2 news for you. So as I'm sure everyone saw the teaser footage that came out, experts, I don't know who these experts are, but some experts are saying that this could definitely indicate it's on a next-gen console. And what they said, according to IGN.com, the camera cuts with perfect anti-aliasing.
You got it.
Yep, that one too. They said is something that even the Xbox Series X struggles with, and therefore they're finding it nearly impossible to be on a current Switch console.
That blows my mind.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't believe it. No. Scratch that. Reverse it. No, I'm saying I do believe it, but I don't believe it. Like, I don't know. It's just like, because unless Nintendo is coming out with like just a dedicated, not handheld new like console that's more capable than the Series X, I can't imagine that being like that on a handheld. I can't.
But look at this. Look at what Steam Deck just came out with.
Yeah, but that's not as powerful. The Steam Deck isn't even as powerful as the Series X.
Well, I know, but if you think about the kind of money that Nintendo has to throw behind a console versus Steam,
that's fair.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I mean, how long is, if you can take everything great about the Switch and you already like come up with the features, the capability, and now you just gotta kind of supercharge it. I mean, I guess it's possible. I don't know. Maybe the footage is from when it's connected to the TV, or there's some other maybe when it's docked, it has a hardware boost. Maybe
Yeah,
there's
right.
there's like a chip built into the dock now where
Right.
it'll give you octo core processing power.
See, now something like that,
That'd be
that's something like that I could absolutely see.
maybe you enhance the handheld portion a little bit, but then when you dock it, all of a sudden it cuts in with whatever other cores they have built into that, so that way when you put it on your TV, it's 8K or whatever the heck you want to do at that point.
Right.
I mean, that'd be pretty cool.
Oh yeah, that would be cool.
I mean,
absolutely.
Nintendo, if you need any assistance on these ideas, feel free to reach out to us. We're at the Weir Brothers Podcast at gmail.com.
and also on top of that too, the I think because you and I actually we spoke about this just individually to each other, not on air, not live. Anyway, but I believe you brought up the fact that Nintendo likes to release Zelda games with the launch of
yes.
No, it's a bridge, right?
Yeah, bridge. So I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one. But the fact, I mean, when you look at what was it? GameCube came out. So GameCube, you had the launch of Wind Waker. And then at the end of the GameCube life, you had Twilight Princess, which co-released with GameCube and the Wii.
Yep.
Then at the end of the Wii, you had Skyward Sword, which released at the very end of the life of Wii on both the Wii and the launch of Wii U. Then at the end of Wii U, we had Breath of the Wild come out.
Wait, Skyward Sword did launch on Wii U as well?
Yeah, it was on both consoles. It came out, you get it on Wii or Wii U.
Oh.
And then at the end of the Wii U's life, you had Breath of the Wild, which was a launch title for Switch, but then also on the Wii U. I'm just saying it would, you've now had 3 consoles in a row where they've had that same format. So if you're going to come out with Breath of the Wild 2, it makes sense to be like, hey, you can get it at the end of the Switch or as a launch title for whatever the next console is. In the beginning, I wasn't really on that kind of train, but now I'm definitely on that train.
Train of believing that a brand new Switch is in the works.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the first one came out in 2017. Now we're here 5 years later. It's going to be 6 years by 2023. Usually you see new consoles every 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm just saying.
What was that?
Oh, Twilight Zone stuff.
Oh, I liked it.
There you go.
So we need an editor to come in, put the Twilight Zone music.
You know how much money that would cost to use their soundtrack for that?
What's that?
So you know how much money that would cost to use the soundtrack for Twilight Zone? They'd be like,
or we could do it for free and then just not tell them.
Hey, we could put in a plug for Twilight Zone. We'll be like, hey, you really want to see your ratings boost from 40 years ago? Let us use your music. Everybody's going to be jumping online. They're like, this needs to come to Netflix. Or somebody could see the Twilight Zone as a little kid and be like, Mom, Dad, you got to check out this crazy new show that just came out.
Okay.
It's called Twilight Zone. Bet you've never seen it before. I know somebody who did that with Happy Days once.
Yeah, I wonder who that was.
Ken,
I love the fonts. I love the fonts, man.
For those of you who don't know, when Ken was a little kid, he came running in the kitchen one day. He was all excited about this new show he was watching on Nick at Night. Wanted to know if we had ever seen it before. It was called Happy Days. And this was like the late 90s.
A brand new show.
Brand new show.
It was like mid 90s because we were still at Blueberry Lane.
Anyways, Ken thought it was a new show in the 90s.
It was new to me. Okay.
Okay. Whoa, calm down. All right. Moving on from Breath of the Wild. So the company Niantic, who obviously came out with I think the ones who did what's the word I'm looking for? Pokemon Go.
There we go.
They have their first original IP coming out called Peridot. Basically, it's an AR game where you're raising virtual pets. Think Tamagotchis and our old favorite, Neopets.
See, I thought you were going to say, now, granted, we did play Neopets a lot way back in the day. But as far as the Tamagotchi goes, remember the old Digimon? Yeah. Those are awesome.
They are. Yep. You could like link them up to each other and battle each other.
Yeah, I borrowed. I can't remember because like you had one and I had one, and I can't remember how, but I ended up getting a second one, and I remember sneaking them into school. I think I was in like second or third grade,
Dun, dun,
and
dun.
like battling under like the desk because in order to reach the, I think at the because we had like the V1s like the earliest generation, so you
Yeah.
can only get up to ultimate. I don't think you could actually get to mega, and but in order to get to the ultimate evolutions you had to go through
Battle
actual
other.
battles.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, and so I remember like hiding under the desk and be like,
Teacher's like, Ken, what are you doing over there? Get your hands on the table. What are you doing? I'm playing with my Digimon.
she's like, well, that's a parent, that's a conversation that you need to have with your
She's like,
parents.
that is not to be done in school, young man. You're like, here, let me show you. Oh, no. Anyways,
Yeah, fun times in elementary school.
moving on from
So
Niantic. Oh, yeah, or not.
well, have you seen anything on this Peridot?
No, I have not. I was just reading about it. I don't know if they've released anything in terms of like footage or anything, but
I'm,
apparently, yeah, it's gonna be like an AR.
I'm guessing this is going to be a phone app.
I would imagine, yeah. So it's gonna be
Yeah.
AR. Yeah. Um, more news for you. Xenoblade Chronicles 3. They're now saying will be launching.
This can also be news for you.
Yes, I know, but I haven't played the first two yet. And I have a million games on my list I'm trying to knock off. Which, by the way, finished Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury this past week. Awesome. I thoroughly enjoyed Bowser's Fury. And when I say beat it, I mean like 100%, all the stars,
Naturally.
all the stamps for freaking 3D World was a pain in the ass. Champions Road is no joke. It took me quite the while to get through that with all the characters, but it's over. It's done with. I can move on. And now I've jumped into one of my old favorites, Mega Man, playing Mega Man X2. I beat X1 decades ago on the Super NES, and I ended up picking up a few weeks back the Legacy X1 and X2 collection. So I have Mega Man X1 through 8 now, which I will have to play through. But thoroughly enjoying Mega Man X2. But anyways, back to Xenoblade Chronicles 3. They're saying now it's going to release in July, which was months earlier than originally announced.
That is wild. Yeah.
Yeah. You excited?
Yeah, I am, but it's just the games are just coming nonstop, and it's like
I know. It's like every time I'm like, ooh, I gotta get this, but I don't have time to finish the last one I was on.
Time, money, it's just
sleep. See, this is why I keep telling you, I wish I didn't have to sleep.
But if Nintendo wants to send us review copies,
yeah,
email us at the Word Brother Podcast.
I was about to say, or this new console that they're coming out with, maybe it'll allow you to play video games in your sleep. I could just lay down, put this like headset on, and then I could just like tackle 8 hours of gaming while I'm sleeping. Man, I'd be knocking out games left and right. Could
you imagine? That'd be wild.
You wake up, you're like, I had the weirdest dream that I was chasing after the princess. And all of a sudden I like pick up my Switch 4 and I'm like, oh my goodness, I tackled 40% of the game last night. Awesome.
You'd be happy. You hate sleeping.
I do. I hate sleeping.
Weirdo.
Yeah, I know.
But that's pretty cool. It's coming out in July. Yeah. I don't know. You never hear that. You never hear a game be like, oh, it's gonna be coming out in late, 2022, and everyone at that was like, oh, that's really early. Like, wow, it's coming out this year, and now all of a sudden it's coming out in July. That's wild. Usually
release dates are pushed back.
Absolutely,
not moved up.
No. Yeah. So I don't know if that's like, I guess is a good thing, but hey, we'll see.
I know. Maybe they didn't sleep when they were working on the game.
Maybe, but that's cool. Well, that is exciting.
And more Elden Ring news.
Oh man!
So you remember this 50 hit wall we mentioned a few weeks ago?
I do.
Apparently, it was a glitch, and now it's been corrected.
That's good. Yeah, there was just another large patch for Elden Ring that just came out a few days ago. Patch 1.04. That granted, I don't know if this patch fixed the wall or if the patch before did, but whole new patch just went out bunch of buffs to weapons, a couple nerfs, not really much, but there was a whole bunch of bugs and stuff that were addressed. So
Cool. Yep.
Yep.
So, and lastly, we got some news on another one of your old favorites, World of Warcraft.
yeah, so earlier this week on Tuesday, Blizzard announced they had an expansion announcement live stream thing, and they announced the new expansion coming out. No dates yet on the expansion. People are speculating winter, or January probably of 2023 would be the earliest, would be our guess. But it's called World of Warcraft Dragonflight, and
Ooh.
it's pretty cool. It's got 5 new zones, 4 of them are leveling zones. One of them is a new starter zone for the new race. And it's the first time they're actually doing a race class combo. So the new race is called the Drakthir, and they're a dragon race, and
Ooh.
they can be the only Drakthirs can be the new class evokers. And if you want to be an evoker, you have to be a Drakthir. And if you want to be a Drakthir, you have to play the evoker class. So it's going to have 2 specializations. It's going to be a ranged DPS that wears mail, and then also it can be a healer as well. So, but coming with the expansion, they're not doing any borrowed power anymore. So World of Warcraft have run into this thing where over the last handful of expansions, they have what's called borrowed power. So they'd have like these systems in place that would make you more powerful, but then come at the launch of like the next expansion, all of that would be taken away, and then they'd have some other form of something that would make you more powerful, and then they'd be taken away. So people have just been really getting sick of that. It's like getting all these toys to play with and then having them taken away. It just felt bad, at the end of every
That's
expansion.
weird.
Yeah. So there's no borrowed power in this new expansion. They're trying to get back to the roots. They want to be rooted in a heavy, with the dragons and a big fantasy, and kind of take it back to its roots. So the talent system that they have, they're going back to the old ways, obviously with some twists and stuff with the old talent systems, UI overhauls, profession overhauls. WoW has been losing a bunch of subscribers over the number of years and stuff, especially with the rise of Final Fantasy 14. So, I watched the press conference. Obviously, I'm an old WoW player. I don't play it anymore. But
You're one of those lost subscribers. Good job.
Yeah. The other thing there is they have dragon riding that's coming, so you can have your own dragon, and you can like customize its scales, its horns, different aesthetics of it, and you can learn, like, you fly on it, and you can do like these like dives and then go up in the air and like barrel rolls and all stuff, and so it all looks pretty cool. And it actually takes place on the Dragon Isles, which for anyone who knows WoW lore, the Dragon Isles is been a thing for a while, and so we're finally going to be going there, and yeah, it's pretty cool. So they actually surprisingly gave relatively few details on the expansion, other than just like some big talking points. But so usually on these expansion reveals, we get a lot more information, but it was kind of kept pretty light.
Hush, hush.
But in the next few, months, more and more stuff will be trickling out. So pretty exciting. This is going to be, let's see, Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King, Cataclysm, Mist of Pandaria, Warlords of Draenor, Legion, BFA, which Battle for Azeroth, and Shadowlands. So this is going to be WoW's 9th expansion.
Jeez.
Yeah. So see how it does. See if it draws players back in. I mean, certainly it's a game that's very near and dear to me. So I hope that despite Blizzard as a company and the whole craziness that surrounds the inner workings there, and like the work conditions and all that, hopefully this is a turning point for the game in a good way. Because so
very cool.
Yep, big news there.
Well, I think that covers our news of the week. I guess now we shall move on to our games of the week.
Sure. So we'll start it off with The Serpent Rogue. Comes out April 26th for the PC, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and the Switch. Steam's description reads, The Serpent Rogue is a botanical action adventure game set in the medieval fantasy world. Master the art of alchemy, explore forgotten lands, tame wild beasts, and protect the realm from impending disaster. You will craft, brew, boil, and concoct potions, all in your steed to to defeat an ominous danger. Looks like a really,
I say a botanical action adventure game. So it's like has to do with plants.
I guess. I mean, that's what
Botanical
means. So yeah, a few pictures of this. It's a really cool art style. It's like a cell shaded kind of cartoony. Like the old like Plague Doctor masks. It like kind of looks like a
Plague Doctor mask.
Yeah, you've heard of like a Plague Doctor.
Oh, the ones with like the big
looks like a
things?
beak. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about now. I didn't know that's what they were called. Why are they shaped like that? I've never understood that.
So there is there is an actual reason why they're shaped like that, but there is an actual reason. And I'll hit you with it some other time. But anyway, so like the main character is like a kind of cartoony, cell shaded, like looks like a Plague Doctor.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So then we got King Arthur, Knight's Tale, which I'm pretty sure we talked about this before, but this is the official launch of the game.
Nice.
Comes out April 26th. It's coming out for the PC. Steam's description reads, a unique hybrid between turn-based tactical games and traditional character-centric RPGs. Knight's Tale is a modern retelling of a classic Arthurian mythology story filtered through the dark fantasy tropes, a twist on the traditional tales of chivalry.
Speaking of King Arthur, did you ever remember watching the old King Arthur cartoon where the football team are transported back in time, like a high school football team, and they all have these different armors, and on their chest is like a different weapon which they can project out and then turn into like a physical weapon? Do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
That sounds so familiar, and it also
like
sounds
on a school
so
bus
80s.
that like goes off a cliff. Yeah, it was like a late 80s, early 90s cartoon. It was like King Arthur.
This was cartoon?
It was a cartoon. Yeah. And also like the quarterback is like the leader of the knights, and they're trying to like get back into their thing. But I just remember it was so cool. They all had like different armor, and on their chest was like the picture of a weapon. And so like one guy had like a giant like anvil, almost kind of looked like Thor's hammer.
Okay.
And he could like project it, so it'd be the picture of it, and then what they would do something in battle, and it would like come off of their chest, and they could grab it as like a physical weapon. I always thought it was super cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah. Anyways,
not as cool as Gargoyles and Mummies Alive, though.
Gargoyles was the shit. Dude, you talk about a dark Disney cartoon for kids. It tackled some deep stuff. One of my favorite cartoons of all time.
Dude, they could do a live action Gargoyles movie.
Now would be sick.
That would be awesome.
Yes. I would be standing in line to watch it opening day.
And Mummies Alive, right? Mummies Alive.
Dude, that was a live action movie. Brendan Fraser, hello.
Yeah, The Mummy. Little different.
That was a great movie, by the way.
Oh, I love that movie. Yeah.
I know. Brendan Fraser.
Making a comeback.
Making a comeback. That's right.
Love to see it.
Speaking of mummies and zombies, Zombie
Army 4 Dead War comes out
April 26th.
What? April 26th. Comes out for the Switch. The description reads, Hitler's hordes are back for more in this spine-chilling shooter from the makers of Sniper Elite 4. Abominable occult enemies, epic weapons, and harrowing new campaign for 1 to 4 players await in the 1940s Europe as you fight to save humankind from undead Armageddon.
That's crazy. It was just a matter of time before Hitler was part of a zombie undead army.
Oh, he's been a part of it the whole time, bro.
He's down in South America.
Absolutely. Zombies everywhere. Hitler, zombies.
South America.
Next, we have a really exciting one. Nintendo Switch Sports comes out April 29th for the Switch. There's really no description needed for this.
Gonna say, I loved how, so we normally list out like what consoles it's coming out for, and the Nintendo Switch Sports, we had to put in there, it's coming out for the Switch. Like it'd be coming out for PC or Xbox. Like, Nintendo Switch Sports for Wait for it, Xbox Series X and S.
You never know.
You never know. No, I am super excited for this.
You picking this up day one?
Yes, yeah, probably. I've been talking to Braden about it, my son, for a couple of weeks now, so I'm super excited to play this with him.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. And then what do we say? In the fall, the golf is coming out.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it bowling or baseball that they didn't? Was it the baseball one they said wasn't back with this version?
Oh yeah, definitely baseball. Bowling is for sure back.
All right.
Yeah. Not many people like baseball anyway. Speaking of sports, congratulations to the Boston Celtics, 3-0 right now.
Oh yeah.
So good.
I needed that win because just a few hours before that.
Yeah.
I was watching the Red Sox and Tampa Bay game.
Sorry, buddy.
Oh, it's a good thing people were sleeping in my house at the end of that game because I was somewhat upset.
No, they weren't sleeping after the
Red Sox were no hit through 9 innings. Finally, in the 10th, they get a couple of knocks, score 2 runs. I'm like, yeah. Then they had a 2-1 lead, 2 outs, ground ball to the second baseman, who stumbled and threw the ball wide at what would have ended the game. And instead, the very next hitter hits a walk-off home run to win it for Tampa. I will say I do feel bad for Tampa fans because when the Red Sox scored that run earlier, that place was so loud and they have so many Boston fans in Tampa. It was like being at a home game. It was so loud when they scored those first 2 runs. I was like, holy crap. It sounded louder than Boston. And then, of course, that 2-run homer to end it kind of put a damper on things. And I was like, oh, there's the 4 Tampa fans cheering in the stands. Yeah, we won. Surrounded by 20,000 Boston Red Sox fans.
Hey, shout out to my buddy Steven Doggett down in Florida, who is a tried and true Tampa fan. I bet he was happy last night.
All right. I hate him. I'm just
So the last game we have on the list is Exophobia.
Ooh.
April? Is that what it?
Yeah.
Oh, it comes out in April.
Yeah.
It's weird. There isn't an actual date.
So, well, I know. So that's why when you sent me the information, I thought maybe you just missed the number. So I went and tried looking it up. So apparently it was supposed to be released in October of last year. And then I got pushed. And it just, everywhere I could find, it just said April of 2022. So I'm like, no, I guess Ken didn't miss the date. It's coming out at some point in April.
So maybe sometime this week. Keep your eyes peeled. It may be dropping for the PC, PlayStation 4 and 5.
When you see it come out, can you send us an email at the Weird Brothers Podcast?
Someone send us an email.
We're trying to filter through the millions that we're already getting.
Yeah, so keep them coming. Please, someone send us an email. It comes out for Xbox Series X and S in one, and the Switch. And Steam's description reads: explore and fight your way through a crashed human spaceship infested with unforgiving hordes of aliens in this retro-inspired first-person shooter featuring crisp, colorful pixel art and electronic music. Uncover new areas and become more powerful in combat with its exciting weapon upgrades and power-ups.
Is this? Do you remember? There's a game at Fun Spot, a stand-up cabinet from like the 80s. Is there one called Exophobia or something similar to that, where it's like an alien one? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Now that you mention it, it sounds familiar. Let me look up.
It's like a light blue cabinet, I feel like. I could be wrong. Well, while you're looking that up, I'm going to go through this week in history. So way back in 89, we had River City Ransom. Came out on the Japan. What?
So you're thinking of the game Xenophobe.
Yeah. Well, I didn't mean like the exact, but it's just kind of like a remake of that.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
Oh my goodness. I knew it wasn't the exact game from the 80s. I was saying like.
But you're right, though. It is a blue cabinet.
Oh, does it say what the game's about?
I just saw the picture. Yeah, aliens. Yeah, it's about aliens.
Anyways, back in 89, little ditty about Jack and Diane. I'm just kidding. Nope, that was 69. River City Ransom came out on the Japan Famicom 33 years ago. Then we had in 97, the Game Gear was released by Sega.
Did you ever have a Game Gear?
No, my friend Dennis did, though. And I used to enjoy playing it. I remember he had Lion King on there. Man, it was a tough friggin' game, and one of the Sonic games on there. But
Yeah, I played a Sonic game on it.
I will say from everything I've read about it, it was like, obviously Sega's answer to the Game Boy. They're like, oh, this is gonna crush it. It's gonna be bigger, gonna be more colorful, it's gonna be backlit, and the batteries last like an hour, and it was way expensive, and it basically failed miserably. I wouldn't say miserably, but Nintendo sold 110 million Game Boys to Sega's like 10 million Game Gears.
Yeah, you want to know what it didn't have? It didn't have Tetris. Although actually, I don't want to.
It also, what else really crushed it? A little
on.
game came out in '96 called Pokemon. That pretty much spelled the end of the Game Gear. And lastly, we have in 1999 Super Smash Brothers for the N64 came out.
It's really cool. I to tell you the truth, I actually really like. Just real quick, so I looked it up. So, the Game Gear, I guess, was bundled with a game called Columns. And it's a puzzle game similar to Tetris, so I guess they did have an answer. But anyway, so I really like going through this week in gaming history because it's really cool. It's like, really? Like, it just seems like every single week there's been some like really big game that that came out.
River City Ransom is probably one of my favorites for the Nintendo. Love River City Ransom.
Same.
Yeah. Our cousin Stephen and Matt introduced us. Well, at least that's where I first saw it. Was from them.
That's where I first saw. I mean, I saw it from you. So,
yep. So cool. So we got our news, our games in this week in history. Now we move on to something I became very enthusiastic about once you mentioned it. I had never really thought about it, but we're going to be doing a deep dive into our top 10 game room. Well, basically your game room cabinets, arcades that you would have if you had a game room. So I'm pumped.
Yeah. So really the theme was like, okay, you have unlimited money. You're building a game, a game room, old school game room with cabinets and stuff like that, pinballs. Your first 10 games that you'd pick, what are these?
Yeah, so just clarify, this isn't in any particular order. We aren't saying like this is a top 10 of like this is number 1, this is number 2. These are just, if we had to pick 10, these are the ones that are going to be in our collection. So we included tabletops, cabinets, and pinballs, and then we each came up with a top 3 or like 3 honorable mentions. So yeah, we're both pumped. I was surprised the amount. You came up with like 15 total to start with. I think I had 16, and we were able to whittle them down a little bit. So, Ken, do you want to start? Do you want me to start? Do you want somebody else to start? Nobody else is here, so why don't you start?
Yeah, that's like that joke where it's like I was in the kitchen, and I made a joke, and I laughed. My wife laughed. The toaster laughed.
We shot the toaster.
We shot the toaster. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, so we kick off with the honorable mentions.
Yeah.
So my 3 honorable mentions, which I was surprised that they made their way into honorable mentions. I figured they'd actually be in the top 10, but I got Afterburner, Super Sprint, and Gauntlet 2.
Ah, good choice. Not a one of those are on my list, but I like them all. I did have Afterburner on my initial list of 16 that I whittled down. I love the, I'm assuming you're talking about the full cabinet that moves and everything.
Yes.
Yeah. That fun. I've almost every time we go to Fun Spot, I have to play Afterburner at least once. It's just so much fun. You're in that cabinet, the whole thing moves side to side and forward and back. I just thought it was amazing. But
so those of you who do not know, Afterburner, you are a fighter pilot. Imagine like you're in Top Gun essentially.
Yeah.
And so like Taylor described, you sit, you're in this chair and you have the the joystick. Is that what it
controller? The
throttle?
The throttle's to your left.
Yeah.
It's
like
yoke. They call it a yoke.
A yoke. Yoke. Is it called a yoke? You have the yoke.
How come we can't figure out what the hell the thing's called?
I'm not sure. You have the
you have the
movie,
stick.
You have the movie thingy stick, yoke. And and so the machine, you're flying through the air, shooting other yokes and and the thing moves side to side, front to back. So it's a really awesome game. I believe it's by Sega, correct?
Yeah, it's a Sega game.
So so that's Afterburner.
All I think of when every time I see Afterburner. So when I was, let's see, you were how old? Maybe 12 or 13. So I was probably 18 or 19. We went on the family trip down to Washington, D.C. Went to the zoo. We tried going to the Smithsonian, but I think it was closed. They had something going on. So we went to the Aeronautical and Space Museum. And inside there, they had a flight simulator. You literally get into basically, if you picture Afterburner, except you're fully strapped in, and Ken and I are side by side, and you can literally control and move and cause this thing to go barrel rolls, full upside down, any which way you could in a real plane. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I'm controlling it. Ken's next to me. We're spinning around. And I'm like, you're really like strapped in. Like you're going upside down. I'm like, this is amazing. And then I was like, you could flip a switch and have the person next to you take over control. And I'm doing like these nice, sweet, like sweeping moves and nice and calm. I give it to Ken and I almost threw up because he's just jerking that yoke all over the place. And I almost had whiplash 14 times. And finally I flipped the switch and I'm like, give me the damn thing back. You're done. Oh my goodness. I bounced my head off the side of that cabinet about 500 times in the 30 seconds he took control of that thing.
I think what I loved the most was when we got out of the machine, the look on the guy like who like was running it, and our parents' faces were like, what the hell happened in there? Like, what was going on?
You're just, I mean, it was like somebody picked up the machine and just started shaking it because we were just bouncing all over the place. Oh my goodness.
I don't know what happened. I mean, anyway, I'm much better at Afterburner.
Yeah, you only crash once in a while. All right, so wait, you had Gauntlet 2. I love Gauntlet 2. It's one of those games, every time I go to Fun Spot, I'm like, we should like play through Gauntlet. Just dump our tokens into it, and then I never play it. So you had Gauntlet 2, Afterburner, and what'd you have?
Super Sprint.
Oh yeah. I forgot about Super Sprint. That's a good one. We play that pretty much every time we go.
Yeah. So this is old 32-bit. Yeah. I mean, 16-bit racing game. You have 4 cars on the track. I mean, I think the tracks like are almost like just little like
loops,
like matchbox tracks too, kind of like. And you have a blue, a yellow, a red, and a green car. But the game, you can only control 3 of the cars.
Yeah.
And it's a game that the pedals on the floor, you have steering wheels. So you can either be the green. You can either be the yellow, red, or blue car. I'm always the blue car.
I'm the red car.
And it's really cool. I love that when you're going around the track, little wrenches will pop up. If you collect 3 wrenches, you can then upgrade either your top speed, your handling, or your acceleration.
Yeah.
Or your score, which no one picks score.
Yeah, who the hell's gonna? I'm gonna upgrade my score because I'm a loser.
Yeah, exactly.
Some guy's listening to this. He's like, I upgrade my score every time.
It's a secret. No one knows. It was really funny. Last time we were at Fun Spot, I was walking by the game on level 3, and I saw this guy and girl trying to play the game, and they put their tokens in and they start, and they're just like spinning the wheels and like, the car's not moving, like this game's broken. And I just kind of lean over and I'm like, the gas pedal's on the floor, and then keep walking. They're like, oh,
the gas pedal's on the floor.
So
where did they think it was? The roof?
I don't know, but
only when Ken's in the flight simulator.
But that's a really fun
30 seconds later he's like, what? Oh, I get it.
That was a fun racing game.
That's a good one.
And this is, I have to just add real quick a 4th one, and it's another racing game. Real quick.
Who do you think you are, me?
It is Racing USA, Cruising USA.
Cruising USA, that's a good one.
Yeah. That's a really fun one too, and that would be the sit down, same thing in the cabinet, because they have a stand up one. But in the Cruising USA, you're driving a Ferrari. What is it? Do you know the actual like model of the Ferrari?
I don't know what it is, to be honest with you.
Ferrari California, maybe.
No, because it's from the 80s, so it was a 356, maybe.
I
think it was. No,
you got a girl to your right. You're driving a Ferrari. Cruising USA.
Cruising.
That's a fun racing game. So
cool. No, I like that. It's a good selection of honorable mentions. Mine, I have Time Pilot.
Ooh, I'm surprised that it was honorable mention. I figured that'd be on your list.
So this one for years ago when I was like had a little bit of money. I'm like, someday I'm gonna buy Time Pilot. I want that. I played it every time I go to Fun Spot. One small interesting fact I learned about this. So the guy who created it, his name is Yoshiki Okamoto. He worked for Konami. He had the idea for this and he brought it to his boss, and his boss rejected it. And he's like, no, that's a dumb idea. So this guy, Okamoto, was part of a development team. He went back to his development team and said, all right, we're good to go. Let's start making Time Pilot. And they started making Time Pilot. And every time his boss would come by, he would act like his boss wanted him to make a driving game. So he just kept acting like, oh yeah, like we got this driving stuff we're doing. And he basically, during the entire development of Time Pilot, kept making it seem like he was making a driving game. And then finally, once Time Pilot was done, he was like, all right, here we go. And Konami apparently ended up liking it and then released it as a game.
Wow.
Yeah, but I loved it. He was like, they're like, no, you're not doing that. And he's like, okay. And then he went back to his team and he's like, yeah, we're all set. Start going. But so Time Pilot on my list. Absolutely love Time Pilot. Sport game I have, NBA Jam. This probably wouldn't have been on my list, except the last time I came to visit you, we played NBA Jam. Yep.
Yeah. Who won?
I don't remember. Anyway, so we had NBA Jam. I was a big fan of this. So interesting tidbit I learned about NBA Jam. The project leader for it, Mark Termel. Apparently, growing up, he has been a Detroit Pistons fan. And so in 2008, he finally confirmed that the game was biased against the Bulls. And so basically, if you're Detroit facing Chicago, there's a bunch of like scenarios where it'll favor Detroit over Chicago in the game if you reach like certain criteria, I guess you'd say. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
That is, I think that's really funny that he got in there.
Yeah, and apparently when they wanted to secure the license for the NBA, Midway had to shell out $100 a cabinet to the NBA for every one they sold.
When they licensed it, say that one more time.
So to get the license from the NBA as part of the agreement, normally like you'd pay a fee to like get the license to use the likeness of the players.
Yeah.
So part of the deal was every cabinet they sold, $100 went to the NBA.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And how many cabinets did they sell?
I don't know. I'm sure hundreds of thousands. I'm sure. I mean, think about it's like one of those popular games of that era, I would think.
Yeah, really. But that's a good yeah. And looking at my list, I don't really have any. I kind of have a sports game on there, but
so last of my honorable mentions. This one might be on your list because again, this is one I forgot about until you had mentioned it a few weeks back. Enduro Racer. Is that on your list?
It is on my list.
I knew it. So for those who don't know, it was so actually, Ken, did you know that the guy who created it was the same guy who created Hang On?
What's Hang On?
That's the motorcycle one that I love.
Yeah. Okay.
So he came up with Hang On, and then I guess so. The creator of the game, he was a big fan of like dirt bikes and racing. He used to do it over in Japan, and so then he came up with this idea. Basically, they had two versions. They had like a stand-up cabinet where you just stand. And you have you just have the throttle and everything, or you have one where you actually sit on a machine and it's like got a spring in it, so you just launch back to like jump over stuff and race. Anyways, Enduro Racer, NBA Jam, Time Pilot are my 3 honorable mentions.
Great picks.
That's right.
And so what I've been doing real quick, just because I know you can see me in the camera,
driving me nuts.
Yeah, the Cruis'n USA game, I can't find that was for Nintendo 64, and they did have.
So wait, were you mixing up? I thought about after you said it. The one where you're in the Ferrari is oh shit! I just had on the end of my tongue. Cruis'n World and Cruis'n USA it was an arcade racer and it was for the N64. But the one where you're in the actual car and it moves is that's not it. That's not that game. It's God, what the hell? I just had it.
Yeah,
but that's not Cruis'n World or Cruis'n USA.
No, and now I can't.
Here, you start with your top 10, and I will find. I know which game you're talking about though.
Okay,
it's bugging me now.
So so what I'll do is, since you already brought up Enduro Racer, I'll talk a little bit more about that since that's on my actual list. So the Enduro Racer game at the arcade that we grew up at and worked at, they had the one where you actually sat on the dirt bike and could lean back and do the wheelies. And it was so cool because I played that so much as a kid, and I never beat it. Go ahead. Did you find it?
Outrun. That's what you're thinking of.
Outrun.
Jeez,
Okay.
you're killing me.
Wow.
As soon as you
Outrun.
said Cruising World and then we moved on, I'm like, I don't think that's the game you're referring to.
No.
Outrun and Outrun Turbo, I think it was. So they had Outrun, which was like the stand-up version, or the other way around, something like that. They had Outrun. I think there was an Outrun Turbo.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, because I was looking at the I was looking at the like the images online and stuff, and I'm like, this
You're
isn't
like, this isn't the game I'm thinking of.
yeah, this isn't the game.
It was funny because when you said it, and then you're like, yeah, you're in a red Ferrari. I'm like, I don't think he's thinking of. I think he's getting two games mixed up. That was funny.
I was very much getting the games mixed up.
I knew what game you were talking about, but then I was like, that's not Cruising World.
No, nope, it is not.
All right, so back to your Enduro Racer. Now that we got to the bottom of that mystery.
Yes. So Enduro Racer. So anyway, so yeah, it's the Fun Spot one had the actual dirt bike where you could lean back, and I thought it was so cool. I remember, so you would have hay barrels that would go across the track, and you had to wheelie at the right time to get over them. But if you would wheelie back far enough, it would literally launch you like so high into the air. And when I figured that out as a kid, it just blew my mind. But it was always so difficult. It was such a hard, like I could always only make it to through the first stage, and like halfway, I think one or two times I made it into through the second stage into the third stage. And they don't have it anymore. At least if they do, it's in the shop, but they don't have it out on the floor. And I
haven't seen it on the floor in years.
Yeah, years. Yeah. So
I got to imagine probably the maintenance on maintaining that as people are trying to launch this thing backwards probably destroys that machine. I
would think. And now we're talking 30 years later of so
abuse.
But I love that game. I actually, that game is what made me, when I was a kid, always want a dirt bike. Never got one, which is fine. But yeah, but I love that game so much. So I definitely would have that in your
top 10. I figured just you need maintenance guy on standby to come fix it every time the spring probably lets go in it. So good choice.
Thank you.
All right.
Maybe we're going to yours.
I'll go into one of mine. This one I assume is probably in your list as well, but let's find out. I got Baby Pac-Man.
No, this is not on my list.
It's not in your list?
Nope.
Okay, I think we talked about this a few weeks ago. So Baby Pac-Man, it was released in 82 and basically combined a traditional Pac-Man game with pinball. So you had like a screen where you play Pac-Man, and there are two tubes that you would go down. And when you go down them, there was a small pinball machine underneath it, and it would activate the actual live action pinball. So it's pretty cool. So one thing that was neat in the pinball thing, you could unlock certain things. If you lit up a bunch of certain key areas, you would then get power-ups. Once you lost the ball, it would go back to the Pac-Man. It would close off those two tubes that you could go down, and either you had to beat the level or you died before you'd have access to go back to the pinball. Baby Pac-Man, again, I had it at Fun Spot. It was only there for a short period of time. We played it maybe a handful of times that I remember. And then it was...
Our dad loved it.
It was gone and lost to the annals of time somewhere. Baby Pac-Man. Love Baby Pac-Man.
Yeah.
That would be in my top. That'd be in my 10.
I'm sure that there's probably been other games like it, but that's the only one that I've ever seen that has mixed pinball in with an actual arcade game. I always just thought that the mix of the arcade games were so cool.
Yeah, I loved it.
So it's funny. So before we recorded this, we were talking about, so we don't know each other's lists, right? Yet. But we talked about how we thought we would have the same pinball machine on the list. Is this what you
Oh,
classify?
nope. No. I have one
Oh,
that's like a dedicated pinball game.
okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So,
One small thing when I was reading about this, they're actually, and if you can find one, prior to them mass producing Baby Pac-Man, there were 5 unique cabinets that were released that were wooden cabinets, and they had different artwork on them compared to like when it finally went into full production.
oh wow,
Yeah.
that's really cool. I don't recall, but it probably was the Fun Spots probably wasn't wooden.
I can imagine. Yeah. So,
I don't think so.
what do you got there, brother, for your next one?
So since we just talked about pinball, I figured let me stay on the pinball train and I will talk about Super Mario Pinball is what I would have.
Oh.
So this pinball game, I've only played it one time. Well, actually, I played it a handful of times, but I've only played it at one place, and it was not Fun Spot. Way back in the day when we were living, I don't know if it probably was at Blueberry Lane, which I don't know why we would go to a laundromat because at the apartment complex we we're living at, they had their own laundromats. But anyway, I was at a laundromat with mom and dad, really young, and at this laundromat they had Super Mario Pinball, and so this pinball game was actually a pinball game modeled after the Super Mario game for the Super Nintendo. So on the pictures, it actually showed like all the different worlds that you could go to.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
just inside the cabinet, you had pipes and, it just the Mario theme pinball and the actual, like when you would beat a world on the pinball, like screen, it would light up like what world you were actually on. And I believe only like a little over 4,000 of these pinball machines.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get your hands on one. This would definitely go in my room.
There's the arcade I take my son to in Auburn. They actually have a Mario pinball game as well. It's a fairly new one though, but it's probably one of I've played it a handful of times when I've gone there. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I guess if so, that's you said you had one pinball game on your list.
No, so I have two. So
okay.
this was the one I figured wouldn't be on your list.
No.
My second one, I'm sure we both share.
Well, I guess I will share mine then. And is yours the whitewater pinball machine?
Whitewater Pinball.
Yeah, this is one. Shocker was also at Fun Spot, and this one just randomly disappeared as well one day. I don't know why. I just felt like there were so many different, like pockets and caves and different things you could go into as part of it. It was just a lot to it, which is what I liked about it. The simple ones kind of bore me, but the ones where they have giant, just several different levels to them and all that, I loved it, and that's probably why I liked Whitewater so much. It was the most intricate one at the time that Fun Spot had.
Yeah, I thought the theme of it was so perfect and just really thematically inside the cabinet looked so cool.
Yeah.
It was just the artwork of it, the sounds of the machine. We both did really love that pinball machine. So, yeah, I'll count that as one of mine. We don't need to talk about it since.
All right, so that's on your list as well.
That's on my list as well.
I tried to incorporate sports. I had pinball. I had something for our father because I know he loves arcades as well. I had some fighting games on there. So I tried to like really incorporate a bunch of stuff. So, okay, well, if we both had Whitewater, why don't you share another one of yours they had on your list then?
So this is a game that we talked about already in our hidden gems, but I would have Sunset Riders, the arcade game, in mind. It's a great shooter. It's a game where it's a multiplayer game, so you can play with friends. We've already talked about Sunset Riders, but for brief overview, you can pick one of 4 cowboys and you go through a whole bunch of levels and you can upgrade your guns. And it's like Contra where there's different, like throughout the level, you can either like walk on the ground or jump up on like built tops of buildings and go through. So really fun Western game shooter.
Yeah, I don't think when we had talked about it as a hidden gem, I don't think I realized it was an arcade cabinet as well, but I did see it when I was doing research on, games from like the 70s, 80s, and 90s for cabinets. I came across it and I was like, oh, that's going to be on Ken's list.
Yeah, totally.
That's a good one. So speaking of shooters, I do have a shooter on my list. So I want to keep something that was going to be like active as well. I have Police 911.
Awesome.
I
Great
love this
choice.
game. It was at it was that fun spot. I just liked it because you were actually like moving and doing stuff. So if you picture your old like Area 51 or Police Enforcer type shooter games, it was like that, except there was a motion bar over the top of you, and it would actually show when you would like duck down and move side to side. All of that was reflected in the game as you were playing it. You're basically just a police officer going through like a bunch of different scenarios. But I loved it. There was a second one that was released a couple years later. I never got to play the second one, but I know it's out there somewhere waiting for me. Yeah,
That's a great pick.
Police 911. I like that one a lot.
So along your lines of interactive kind of shooters, on my list, I have Time Crisis.
Uh,
And
kind of a precursor to Police 911.
yeah. So, and now granted, there's Time Crisis 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I would just pick whatever the most recent Time Crisis game in there. I always Fun Spot, they've actually had a couple.
I think they had number 2. I think it's the one they had primarily there.
Yeah, but then right now I believe that they
have number 3.
I can't remember, but I know they have like a Terminator kind of game that's very similar to Time Crisis. But Time Crisis to me is just the OG, point and shoot.
Step on the pedal.
Yeah, reload. They're just really fun, interactive, and I just think it'd be a great addition to any arcade room.
Very cool. Well, if I had to pick a fighting game, well, I guess fighting could be defined in a couple of ways. You have like one-on-one fighters, or you have like a group one. So as my group one, I have to go with the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game. A lot of fun. Had a lot of memories playing this. You, me, and our cousins. But basically, when it came out, it was the highest-grossing arcade game for Konami in 1990. In 1990, they sold over 25,000 units worldwide of this when it came out.
Wow.
Yeah, big fan of it. And this is the one, obviously, that got adapted to the Nintendo later on, and it was the precursor to Turtles in Time.
Yeah, so really cool game. Obviously, again, it's too bad because Fun Spot, they had this game for a long, got rid of it, and they have a brand. They did replace it with a brand new, like a new
version.
Ninja Turtles game. So it's a really fun game. But when doing research, I was looking at the new Cowabunga collection coming out for the Switch. I know we actually already talked about this, but it still blows my mind to think that Turtles in Time was a sequel to this game, and Turtles in Time actually came out as an arcade game first before it was ported to the Super Nintendo, which I never I never knew that either. I always just knew it as the Super Nintendo game that we owned. So I thought that was pretty cool to find out.
Yes. All right, so what do you got next on your list?
So it was really tough, actually. Ninja Turtles did not make my list.
What?
I do not have a action fighter like that, but for because same thing with you, I wanted to hit different genres with my games. So for my actual 1v1 fighting game, it was really difficult. I wanted to go with Mortal Kombat 3, but I didn't. And I thought about going with Street Fighter, but I didn't. But what I did go with was Marvel versus Capcom.
Good choice.
Yep, I thought that was a really, really great pick. Just the slew of characters that they have. I figured you still get the Street Fighter characters in it from Capcom. Then of course with their awesome, the Marvel picks, War Machine, Wolverine, you name it. And almost did Darkstalkers as well, or Night Stalkers.
Thinking that might be on your list if you for your fighting one.
But again, a lot of those are in Marvel vs. Capcom. So I just thought Marvel vs. Capcom was a great pick to encompass all that.
Good choice. I will come hang out in your game room at some point so we can play that. But if you need a fix for Mortal Kombat, you can come to mine because I went with Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3.
Yeah, good choice.
And I basically just picked it because it was the newest of it, had the most characters available. I mean, what can't you say about Mortal Kombat? It's, damn near perfect.
Yeah, I mean, and I've seen newer Mortal Kombat, like the newer Mortal Kombat games, like they do have arcades of those. But if I were to pick a Mortal Kombat game, it would totally be Ultimate 3. I just think for like the classic Mortal Kombat games, that has it all. The most
Yeah.
characters, most refined. I love it. I think that's a great pick.
Yep. Mortal Kombat 3. Boom.
So for one of my sports picks,
Yep.
I chose track and field. I know you don't.
Oh my God. Seriously,
said-
that's your sports one?
You said that you had a game for dad. Well, this is my game for dad.
For dad? How's he gonna smack those buttons?
You see the size of dad's hands? He's got like
Yeah, you know
giant,
how
like
slow those are?
yeah, he's like boom, 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 boom.
They're like, Jimmy, you move 2 feet.
No.
He's like, throw the javelin.
45 degrees. That's the key in the game. 45 degrees.
Yeah.
So track and field.
Degree.
I love track and field.
All
so
right.
you got a whole bunch of different events. You got the 100-meter dash, you got the javelin throw, you got the shot put, you got the hurdles, you have the high jump, and then you have the long jump. And the key with so many of those is so like you have 2 buttons and you alternate hitting them and you build up the speed meter. And then when you get to the line, you hit the jump button and you hold it and you see like an angle thing come up from 0 all the way to 100. And the key is to try to get it right at 45 degrees. That's the magic number to get the longest, best distance. Yeah, I don't know why. I've always loved track and field. Great game.
All right, good choice for you.
Yeah.
So I have 2 sports games on my list. First being NFL Blitz.
Good pick.
So since NBA Jam was in my honorable mention, I just love the action and the impact that you see on NFL Blitz. First time I came across this was actually in a movie theater here near where I live in Brunswick. And I remember my buddy Dennis and I went to a movie and they had NFL Blitz there. And I was like, oh, what's this? And we had a grand old time beating the snot at each other playing NFL Blitz.
That was the first time you ever played Blitz?
Yeah,
was on an arcade?
Yeah.
Oh.
And then they obviously ported it to the N64 because it came out in 97. So I think 98 is when it came out on the ports for the N64. Yeah.
Cool.
So love NFL Blitz. It's a lot of fun. Do you want me to tell you my other sport one?
Yeah. Why don't you go ahead and tell us the other sport one?
This one will probably surprise you. Also played it at Fun Spot. This is a golf one, but it's not Golden Tee. Right? Exactly. This is Skins game, also by Midway. So basically, it's like NFL Blitz, NBA Jam, but for golf. So you don't have. I hated the stupid trackball that you'd use on Golden Tee. So this one had a joystick, and you basically would pull it back as like a power shot. And it was basically just like an over the top, like extreme golf game. They used to have it in the tavern, and I played this incessantly. I think that's a word. I played it a lot. I loved it. It's a lot of fun. You get like power up shots and you could hook shots and cause the ball to like hover and soar and dive down and do different things. It's called Skins Golf or Skins Game Golf by Midway.
So I do remember that game, and it's funny. I came very, very close to putting not Skins but Golden Tee on mine.
I've never played Golden Tee. I just didn't like, or maybe I have, but I just didn't like the whole. I liked because the control was a lot better in terms of like.
Yeah, with the stick versus rolling the ball.
Exactly. So, well, so far, Ken, we have not come across a single game that's the same on either of ours, except for, I said there was going to be 2. So far, we have Whitewater, the pinball game.
Yeah.
And that's it so far. So I got 3 left on my list. So why don't you hit me with one of yours?
Let's see how many I have. I got 1.
You should have 3, I think, as well.
2, 3. I do. So
okay.
I'm going to hit you with the one that I know is on both of ours.
Okay.
Mercs.
Yep.
Yeah. So we talked about Mercs a little bit already in a previous episode in our hidden gems. So this is the not side scrolling, but the top down shooter. One of the characters has the last name Powell. Really great shooter. Taylor, you want to add on
Go listen to our older episodes if you want to listen about Mercs, because they ported it to the Sega. We've talked about it. We played this game. Yeah, you're just basically these mercenaries running around shooting people as one of 3 different colored characters. And the guns were awesome. The graphics were awesome. The people who played it were awesome. So
absolutely.
All right, that's a good one. So yeah, Mercs is on both our lists. Why don't you hit me with one of your others, of your last 2?
So I'm gonna save the best for last, but
Me
yeah.
too.
So this isn't really a top 10 except for the last one. That's a definite. But for my racing one, have you done your racing one
No,
yet?
that was one of my two remaining. So maybe we have more than two are the same.
Yeah. So
What do you have?
for my racing one, now mind you, um, there was a lot to choose from. Daytona,
Cruising World.
cruising, yeah, cruising USA. So many of them, but when it came down to it, I had to go with the classic California Speed.
Yes, thank you. So we have
Uh,
three that are the same.
So I don't know why, bro, but I have so many just great memories
Yeah.
of just the California Speed, the OG original sit down driving game. I just thought the controls were awesome, the cars were awesome, the theme, the different I loved the mall. Remember the mall racetrack? So like partway through the level, actually it's at the end of the level, you end up going into the mall. You can either go like
Up the
down,
stairs.
up the stairs or down the stairs, and it was almost like it seemed like almost like if Midway made like an NBA Jam or NFL Blitz of a racing game. Yeah, like it was just kind of over the top, very arcadey, and just but felt great.
There was like a several year stretch where anytime you and I would go to Fun Spot, we're like, hey, let's go play California Speed. We must play the game 100 times. And
Easy, yeah.
I thought the best thing about it was the steering. Like you had very good like force feel or feedback steering when you would like turn and stuff, and you could feel like the car sliding. I think they did that.
And the
amazing.
tension in the steering wheel.
Exactly, yeah. And funny story, and I will apologize to our cousin Matt. So several years ago, he invited me to go bowling with a bunch of friends of his, and we're riding there, and he's like, oh, there's this racing game that we all play. And he's telling me how out of all his friends, he's the best racer at this game. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm like, I like racing games. And he's like, we got to play. And I'm like, all right, sounds good. And we walk around the corner, and poor Matthew, there is California Speed. I own California Speed. It is my game. And I beat him, and I felt very bad doing so. But hey, I had to do what I had to do.
Fair is fair.
Fair is fair. It was funny. In my write-up of California Speed, I said I had very similar gameplay to Cruising World and Cruising USA. I did not mention Outrun.
Oh,
So,
that's funny.
That's good. So that was one of my last two remaining. I'll let you save yours for last. My last of my top 10.
Wait, I'm sorry, real quick. I just the faux pas on Fun Spot is they took. I remember you and I were so upset.
Yeah.
When we went there,
and what did they replace us with? They reskinned it.
It was the same cabinet, same everything, but they reskinned it to a Fast and Furious game. And want to know something? We were very furious that they reskinned their California Speed.
We left very fast.
We did. So I would love to see this game again. I would race you any day of the week.
Yeah, poo on you, Fun Spot, for taking away our California Speed.
Poo on you.
All right, so we got three that are the same out of our top 10. This last one I have saved as in my top 10 is a tribute to Dad, and it's my tabletop, Donkey Kong Jr.
Yes. Yeah. There we
go. So, as a kid, when my parents first separated, and I'd get to have weekends with my dad, we would often go to this little tiny arcade in Augusta. It was like in the strip mall. And I remember they had Q-Bert. I almost picked Q-Bert because for whatever reason, I remember him showing me Q-Bert. And he's like, oh, I used to play this when I was like, in my late teens and like early 20s in the 80s. And but they had a tabletop version of Donkey Kong Jr. And I can remember it was probably one of my earliest gaming memories was sitting down and playing with Dad at this. And so it has to be over in the corner of my game room for Dad.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
By the way, it's the only time that Mario is portrayed as the antagonist in a video game.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. So
interesting.
There you have my top 10. Ken, what's your last?
So it hasn't come up yet, but I can imagine that that my number one has got to be.
Yeah, I know which one this is. Do you want me to say it, and I'll see if we're on the right track?
Let's hear it.
Ken, it's Circus Charlie.
It's Circus Charlie, baby. Oh man.
That's right up there with
What
track and
can I
field.
say about Circus?
Charlie.
I
Nothing. That's the end of
love
the show. All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Thank you.
I love a little known game called Circus Charlie.
You're
It
a
came
circus,
out
Charlie.
in 1984.
Oh,
It
what a great
has
year!
Six.
It's the year I was born.
It has. I know it was a year's bonus. See, that's why they should have named you Charlie.
Oh, come on.
So the levels, there's 6 levels to choose from. So just to give you an overview, you're a circus clown
Jeez.
at a circus, and you're performing. You have a riding on a lion where you have to jump through flame rings, or you can walk the tightrope jumping over monkeys. You have another one where you jump between trampolines and you have to like dodge like other circus guys blowing fire, throwing up knives. You have a jump on the ball, like rolling on balls, jumping on that. You have a horse ride one where you're on a horse riding and you have to jump and like hit on like trampolines and then land back on the horse. Then you have a swinging on the trapeze one. It for whatever reason, it's just such a fun game, and you can each level you can do repeated times, and each time they get harder and harder and harder. And for a long time, I don't know if they still do it or not, but FunSpot every year they used to do a video game tournament where people from truly from all around the world would come play at this tournament and go for
world records,
to essentially world records on these games. And I thought it was so cool. One of the times I was actually working one of these, I was watching a guy play Circus Charlie, and he taught me something that I did not know. In the very first, in the level 1 where you ride on a lion and jump through the flame rings, when you click on the level, if you hold back and you keep holding back on the joystick and jump 3 times and then proceed to go do the level, and another Circus Charlie will come down the line, and if you collect them you get an extra life, and you can do that on that level for as many you can do it, I think like 6 different times. There's like 6 times you can do each level, and it gets harder and harder and harder and harder. So when I found that out, I thought it was amazing, and it gave me so many extra lives, so I was able to get more points. And at one point I was actually ranked the 14th in the world for high score in Circus Charlie. Wow. So I that is something, if when I retire, I'm gonna become
a Circus Charlie expert.
Yes, world record holder for Circus Charlie. This is a must have in my arcade.
All right, I can understand that. I mean, I don't understand you, but I can understand that. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Hour 10 plus 3 honorable mentions, plus Ken's 1 other honorable mention.
Plus, no, can I say a couple that I'm surprised weren't on your list?
Yeah, go for it.
I was expecting to hear Tron.
I had it on my initial 16 or 17, however I came up with. It's one that I play every time I get there, but then I'm not like good enough where I can play it for very long. So that's why I'm like I won't find it enjoyable. Like I would probably play it once and just be like, wouldn't pick it up again for like 6 months or something like that.
Yeah, I feel you.
But I've always working at FunSpot, like I said, when you had those tournaments, I'll never forget. There's this one time I was working on level 3, which was their world's largest collection of classic games, and I'm watching this guy play Tron, and he is just dominating. I mean, I'm watching him do the cycle one, and he's just destroying these things in like 3 turns. I'm like, this is amazing. And I look over to my right, and I see they have a poster of this guy setting a world record on Centipede. I look back at the guy playing Tron. I look at the poster. I look at the guy playing Tron. I look at the poster, and I realize it's the same guy. And I started talking to him. He, at the time, this was 16, 17, 18 years ago, he had like the world record on like 8 or 9 or 10 different like arcade games. He had like Tron, Centipede, Millipede, and like a bunch of other ones. And he's like, oh yeah, it's like what he does, travel around and sets records on them. But I remember the same thing, like when you saw this guy playing Circus Charlie, I'd watch him play Tron, and it'd be really funny if it was the same guy. But
that would be funny.
Yeah, he's just like, it was just schooling all of these different levels on Tron. Yeah, it was crazy.
Good times. Were there any on my list that wasn't there that you thought would be? Do you think Cruising USA would be on?
No, I didn't think Cruising USA was going to be on there because it wasn't. um, no, I was surprised that like Outrun was on there. I had a couple of tough ones that uh, ones that I loved playing. And I forget the name of it. There's one you're like straddling. It's like a futuristic racing one, and you're like, you have this controller in front of you, and you can go like vertical and around these tubes. It's all like polygon wire based like graphics. It's like it was next to Space Harrier 2. It's a giant red machine. You like sit on it.
Yeah, I know the exact one that you're talking of, but I
Can't remember the
think
name of it. I always thought that one was really cool. I like that one a lot.
Spy Hunter. It's another really
That's a
good one.
one. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, what am I having? Like the Duck Hunt one was pretty cool. Remember these have the clay shooter one? We had like the big guns.
Bro, how did either of us forget Leprechaun?
Dude, I didn't. It Leprechaun, let me tell you, is a game you could play for hours on a single token or
Years.
quarter.
You can play it for years.
I made the mistake one day. I was leaving FunSpot after work, working like an 8-9 hour shift, and I'm like, I'm just gonna throw a token in Leprechaun and play for a few minutes. I stood there for a freaking hour playing Leprechaun, and finally I'm like, I gotta go. I'm like, what am I doing here? I'm like, I've already been working all day long, and I just like walked away after like the 300th stage I was on. I'm like, I hadn't died in like forever. I literally played it for an hour, and I'm like, I gotta go. I'm like, I think dinner's waiting for me at home. I put in one token.
Yes, Taylor and I have this joke with this game. Leprechaun is literally if you got time to kill and only have one token, that's the game to play because it just Oh my goodness. Yep. Yes. So you're just this little guy and you're running around the screen hitting bushes and stuff, right?
Yeah, and grabbing like pots of gold. You're like this little leprechaun, and it's fairly easy. And you just keep going like map after map after map after map.
Yeah, and you're running around trying not to get caught by the leprechaun.
Yeah. And you're just a little bit faster than him. So as long as you're just moving, it never catches you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Leprechaun. That was, I almost put that on my list, but I'm like, geez, that'd be the only game in my arcade. I'd be like, oh, I'll put one quarter in here, and well, there goes the whole weekend.
So one other game that if we had to have more on the honorable mentions, this is a kind of a funny story, is Wheels 2. It's an old racing game where it's like literally so old where it's the cars are just green, like it's like looks like an old kind of Game Boy, you know what I mean, game.
Yeah.
And
like monochromatic.
Yes, there we go. Thank you. Monochromatic. And so you're just this little car, and you're just going back and forth trying to dodge other cars, and you build up your score. And if you crash, and you have a certain amount of time, you have a time limit and all this stuff. Well, anyway, so I used to play that game a lot at FunSpot, and on top of the cabinet, they used to have it listed of what the world record for the game was. And I kept beating the world record over and over again. I'm like, oh my God, like I'm beating the world record. Like, what is going on? And so I called whoever the manager was over that night, and I was like, can you watch me do this? And so he watches me, and he's like, wow, holy crap. Yeah. I mean, that's the record there. And there's like, you beat the world record. And so I'm like, oh my God, they're like, this is like, that was really easy. Like, this is great. Well, come to find out,
I've never heard this story,
the game. By the way. Really?
No, I've never heard this story. So keep going with this, because now I'm interested to see how royally you screwed this up.
Yeah. Well, so it wasn't me that screwed up. The game wasn't this particular one wasn't programmed right. So essentially it was something where it was like the score was ticking up faster than it was supposed to or something. So either way, I did not really have the world record. And once they fixed that,
Ken's I have the world record. They fixed it. And he's like, I am ranked 4 millionth in the world now. All right, awesome. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. Back to the drawing boards.
Ken's like, I am in the top 4 millionth person in the world. That's funny. I know. I never heard that story.
Oh yeah. So
speaking of not so funny stories in world record, do you also remember the story of Billy Mitchell when he was trying to set the perfect score in Pac-Man?
Sure.
So for those of you who don't know, FunSpot had rows and rows of games all together. and Billy Mitchell was there trying to set the perfect score on Pac-Man, 3,333,360, and he was very, very far into this, and some poor kid walked by and tripped over the cord that had it plugged in and turned the game off. And we thought Billy Mitchell was going to murder a child on this day. So then they finally pulled the game out and like cornered it off somewhere and roped it off so nobody could unplug it. But
this happened at Fun
Spot. Yeah. Some kid like walked by and like accidentally tripped over the cord. And Billy was like 80 or 90 boards into this 108 board, 104 board game.
Oh my God. Yeah. I don't know if I've heard that.
So the perfect score is you have to get every single ghost with every power up and every fruit on every single level. And for those of you who don't know, the last 4 boards, half the screen is blank. So it's all just pattern recognition. So you can't see half the board. And yet you still have to get the guys and the power ups just by memorizing the movements.
And that's actually like a glitch, right? Like it's not something like it doesn't happen on because that's how they coded it. Something happens in the game's memory. That I believe.
I believe that's correct. Yeah. But so yeah, 3,333,360 is a perfect score, which Billy Mitchell has. Go Billy.
Go Billy. Yeah, if you want to know more about Billy Mitchell and Fun Spot, watch the documentary The King of Kong. That's quite the documentary.
Yes, sir, Bob.
So
all right, well, that was a great episode. I like that.
That was good.
What are we talking about next week?
It's a good question. What are we talking about?
I don't know. We had it written down, and I forgot what it was.
What do the fans want to hear? Let us know at the We're Brothers Podcast at gmail.com.
That's right. Please email us. Yeah. We have it written down. I remember at some point. I'll tell you when we finish up the episode. We'll figure it out.
That sounds perfect.
You know what? Tune in next week, and maybe you'll find out what we're going to talk about.
And find out.
That's right. All right. Until next time, broski.
We're brothers.
We're brothers. I don't know what this is, but that's what we are.
But we're brothers. Roger that.
Maybe I can use a instant transmission. That'd be awesome. I could totally use that in a few instances.
Yeah, more than a few.
I know. You know how much money you would save on gas? Just instant transmission yourself to work or to Tahiti and not go to work.
Or Tahiti? Yeah, sure. That's fine.
All right. Well, until next time.
Brothers.
We're brothers. Peace.